Welcome back to the Fates Voyage Onward World Qualifier Open. After some incredibly tense action, we have our final 4 players of the tournament who are going to be competing for that World Championship spot. And with the next game that is going to be coming up in a second, we have a very interesting dynamic. It's going to be Ultraman versus Boxer, and Ultraman is already qualified for the World Championship because he won the last seasonal tournament ever, the worst World Ender seasonal tournament, while Boxer is in a bit of a do-or-die situation at 0 Runeterra points and could really, really use that World Championship invite.
Yeah, it's going to be a very tough matchup. But on the other side of the semifinals, we have Enzo Lakoko, who we saw a bit earlier on today, and Jokeridge, both players we haven't been following for that long, and very interested to see the winner of those two as well, who will make it to the grand finals.
Yeah, 2 rather newer players in the tournament circuit, and both of them in a prime position to secure a World Championship invite right away, making a splash into the tournament scene. Another interesting dynamic is that if Ultraman wins the whole tournament, because he already has a World Championship spot, the World's invite is going to move down to the 2nd place. So both of those players should really be rooting for Ultraman to win the other semifinal.
Yeah, that would allow them, as you mentioned, that spot guaranteed. Ultraman will, however, take the prize money, so he'll be very happy there, taking a nice 5k there for himself. And we're going to be hopping into the first set of the decks here for our match between Ultraman and Boxer. Ultraman, we've seen a couple of times today, has brought a very strong lineup with the Seraphine Heimerdinger set. You can see this is a very heavy one-off list. It's very common here with the Seraphine. Try to get as many of those new spells being played.
Yeah, notably 2 Nopifies and 2 Concussive Palms, the only spells that are doubled. One card we didn't touch up on yet is called Shot. A very interesting addition, not the most common in these set Seraphine decks, but does allow for some explosive finishing power. The next deck, a much more innovative one that really just made its splashes on day 2 of this EMEA tournament series, and that is Fizz Yuumi Freljord with the inclusion of Triple Bone Club.
Yeah, we have to specifically mention Freljord because there is a PNZ Fizz Yuumi going about throughout this tournament, as we've seen earlier on today. Such a fantastic deck. The use of skip has been one of the key deciding factors in the win conditions because of how much of an interesting card it is overall. And our final deck, obviously, the Nyla Jana, we've seen this time and time again. This is one without the Aftershocks, with double title invocation.
Again, we're assuming that Ultraman is perfectly fine playing into other Jana Nila decks and rather tacked in those title invocations to deal with elusive decks, to deal with Demacia decks like Scouts, and just get better matchups in those regards. Now we're gonna walk over to Boxer's decks, which we haven't seen yet, and this is some serious spice.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything like this throughout the entire tournament. This is a mono Seraphine back alley bar deck. Tons of one-offs running SI, so no access to set and stuff, I think. And yeah, look at this. It's double Aftershock, Undergrowths, Vengeance, Song Spinner, Pursuit of Perfection, and Eradication there too.
Not in my wildest dreams would I have imagined a back alley bar deck in the top 4 of the EMEA finals, but Boxer somehow pulling it off. Second deck, the Teemo Yuumi deck that you just mentioned earlier on. Interestingly enough, I do think that Ultraman's elusive version is very favored into this one. We saw Ultraman also play Scholarly Pioneer, which is not only a challenger for removal, but also can pick the Explorer spell that removes keywords. And that can also take some tempo out of Boxer's sails. Speaking about sails, we do have a Nila Jana deck with Tide Dancer included as the tech choice, something that has fallen out of favor a long time ago. And generally speaking, this list is very differently built than what we've seen before. Talk us through this, Jem. So how is this build different?
So this was the first sort of stack, I guess, for Nyla Jana. You'd run the Tide Dancer, but it also has cards like Vic Crash, usually as the 3 of. It's a very more aggressive, low back as well for a potential finisher. It's essentially a way more aggressive variant. trying to really get the elusive damage, the chip damage, the early draw. There's no temple, there's no this sort of discounts there. There's no
No wise enhancement.
yeah,
That's also
yeah,
huge.
there's loads, yeah.
Very different approaches to the Nila Jana deck. So Boxer, it's such an interesting lineup because you have two hyper aggro decks in Elusives and Nila Jana, and then you have the polar opposite with this Seraphine back alley bar deck. So I'll be honest, I have no idea what the ban strategies are. I don't even know what the matchup spread is of a deck like back alley bar mono Seraphine. I don't know what to expect from the bans.
Yeah, I don't know if your box or what you choose. You might just get rid of the Seraphine list on the opponent's side. You've got tons of removal, so maybe you're banking on just being able to deal with units in the Jana list and as well as the Fizz Yumi. But again, Fizz can be a huge problem in that regard. Haven't seen the power of Fizz much this tournament, but for those of you guys that don't know, it has that way of Fizz's ability allows you to dodge spells if you play your own spell.
Exactly, just negates the spell stack and everything targeting Fizz basically. Well, not the whole spell stack, only whatever is targeting Fizz. So a bit of an invincibility shield in a weird way. I can see the Fizz Yumi deck being banned here. I think it does present the most problems to most decks on Boxer's side. If you're Ultraman, what do you ban though? Because Ultraman, keep in mind, does not play the Aftershock version of Nila Jana, probably is generally fine with the mirror, but now you are facing a very different Nila Jana build.
Yeah, I don't know. It is very tough. I'm not sure who wins in that mirror. I would like to believe that the Temple version should, in theory, do better. You have a lot more with Wizened Helmsman, and if you can manage to get the landmark down, you have a ton of ways of just removing most of the board. Janila doesn't have very high HP sort of statted units, so as long as you get a little bit of that removal, you should be able to keep it clear.
Mm-hmm. Also, the tidal invocation tags are actually huge in that matchup. So nice to be able to remove some Windborne Mariners while developing your own blockers. Also to remove something like the lookouts, the 1-drop lookouts before they get buffed and get the +1/+1 and Brash. On the flip side, Ultraman's deck, like Jana Nila, can struggle against the Brash keyword.
Yep.
But having that additional offensive firepower on Boxer's side can come in super clutch.
Yeah, it's very, very tough. I suspect this is the issue right now both players are facing and why the bans are taking so long. There's a lot of decks which are running different versions of cards. They're going to have to sit down and figure out, especially the Seraphine list, I would say, what they are scared of, what are they worried about, and which deck is going to pose the biggest threat.
I would be so curious to see the Seraphine decks play against each other. I'm like... What? Who's even favored?
I would say the Ionia one is right because you have access to deny.
To Nopifies, you can protect your landmark better.
The Pursuit of Perfection as well. You can't stop it,
but you
side.
can Vengeance the big boy, right? The Catastrophe.
Yeah.
So I don't think that win condition exists.
True.
The Sets and Heimerdingers can also be taken care of. It's really weird, but I feel like the Shadow Ice version should be favored, as long as you...
It's a single Vengeance, by the way, so it's also...
Okay, it does change things. Man.
Yeah, it makes it way more
I would be so interested to see that matchup.
Because if you commit that Vengeance earlier on in the game, where you're forced to for whatever reason, you're now practically locked out from dealing with Pursuit of Perfection. It's super, super tough.
Yeah, if you got to pop a Heimerdinger or a set with the Vengeance instead. But then that also opens up the opportunities for random card generation, right? Triple back alley bar. There's so much RNG in that matchup. The Seraphines, who knows what they're going to pull? Maybe some, I don't know, some random silence spell. Maybe some Hush can come on clutch.
Yeah, it's going to be way too close to call. And I mean, you can see even in the deck, there's cards like Station, Archivist, which could hit. Which in theory could hit one of the spells that you need, that sort of thing, give you an extra copy that you wouldn't normally be able to play. I don't know. You could generate some stuns by accident from random generation, which gives you the one extra turn. Yeah, it's overall a very difficult sort matchup to analyze in terms of the bans, what you want to ban, especially when you're faced with a deck like this that you haven't got any or even many stats of at all.
Such a weird clash of lineups here. There's so many uncommon decks on both sides that, or at least an uncommon build of Janna Nila, for example. We do see the Seraphine deck get banned. I'm a bit heartbroken over this. Fizz Yumi on the other side. Good read there, Gems. And we do see two of the most dominant meta decks being available on Ultraman side, which is Seraphine Set, as well as Janna Nila. Boxer electing to open up with Janna Nila of their own.
This more aggressive variant could work out in favor as well for Boxer, because it is able to just spam a lot more units onto that board, go wide quicker, and try and push that damage. However, as I heard your reaction there, yeah, Rocket Barrage is one of those few cards that can kind of end the game.
Yeah, what a mulligan by Ultraman. Rocket Barrage and Divine Draft to stop Boxer from going wide. Also having Howling Gale to take care of a Janna very soon. Other necessary removal, but no real early units. That's a bit unfortunate for Ultraman, which means this Nila is just gonna swing in uncontested and generate that very crucial slipstream. But Boxer has a sick opening here with the Nila into the Janna, into Tide Dancer already in hand.
Yeah, the question more becomes okay, so we do see the Howling Gale pre-committed here onto the Nila. Does not want to deal with it at all. However, though, Nila has managed to do her job, right? Hit perfectly the attack, generated a slipstream. That's realistically the main thing you want from Nila, is to generate that slipstream to be available.
Yeah, Nila did her job, and she also gets replaced with the second Nila straight from hand. Of course, for Ultraman, the Howling Gale expenditure makes perfect sense because you already have a Rocket Barrage for the Janna later on. You have perfect mana banked to take care of the Janna before those draw discounts apply. Again, very precise mana management by Ultraman, which was all set up by passing turn 2 instead of playing that Disciple of Doran curve.
Yeah, this Rocket Barrage is going to be happy. Boxer's not going to be too upset about seeing that. Yes, Janna is removed, but now your Marinas are going to be more likely to be safe. The only punishments are exactly what Ultraman has, which is the divine draft, and on top of it, the Caustic Rift.
But still, Boxer has so much steam right now, and Ultraman does not quite have the mana to take care of everything. If Ultraman had one more mana for that Caustic Rift, this board would be efficiently taken care of. But right now, Ultraman just keeping the options open. We do see, yeah, that makes perfect sense actually. Disciple does get removed for a bigger hit, and the Windborne Marina is going to come out very soon as well. Going for the Mystic Shot instead, just more effective, well, investment of damage, let's say. Although I will say that the Mystic Shot could have also gone face later on, so it's not an easy call to make.
But this, yeah, you have to remember this does not run the Helmsman, so your that is it for Whirlwinds, right? So you don't get sort of that extra Whirlwinds from playing them early later on in the match, because Boxer's not running that variant.
What an enormous swing here though by Ultraman. Divine Draft did not get played, which means it's a bit of an awkward situation. You either have to Concussive Palm now, or you play Caustic Rift, only removing the Windborne Mariner. What are we looking for here? Tag out is useless.
None of those.
Heimer is good in this matchup, but it might be too little too late, because Heimer is going to get met with a bunch of removal here. Nonetheless, Heimerdinger gets picked up. We do, Ultraman sacks a lot of Nexus HP here to be able to play Heimerdinger with some mana backup. The preparation gets activated to discount Divine Draft and to discount the Caustic Rift next turn. Flow activated. Very good setup here by Ultraman. Heimerdinger into the Caustic Rift into Divine Draft is coming up.
Yeah, now we'll remove the entirety of the board here from Boxer, depending on what draws are available.
This is so big for Boxer, though. Could just go double Slipstream into the Howling Gale to remove Heimerdinger before Divine Draft can be played. That also takes care of a blocker for free if you go for the tempo version. And Janna has been drawn, so we can shuffle those fleeting cards back into our deck. Instead, Boxer goes for a slower line of play, doesn't want to invest the second Slipstream yet, but we are expecting Howling Gale to come down very soon.
Yeah, I like this sort of slow burn from Ultraman a little bit. Giving Boxer basically another action to maybe play another Marina or
Yeah.
something.
I think Boxer was also playing around Nopify, very aware of that threat of 2 Nopifies being in deck. That's exactly why we see this pass. But Ultraman is perfectly fine here, right? Ultraman is not going to play the Rift this turn, I'm pretty sure. Gale does come out.
I think you don't want Nyla to get really close to leveling up or generate another slipstream, right?
How close
you are a
is
little scared of that.
How close is Nyla here? Actually, is it Nyla or Nila? Have I just been mispronouncing the name this whole game?
I've been flipping between the two,
Yeah,
so it could be either.
I stick with Nila. It's just my German intuition. Well, the slipstream apparently does not level Nila, or it does not get invested here. And Ultraman stabilizes on the board while generating a turret, electing to let the Heimerdinger die, not playing the Nopify, but also grinding Boxer out of resources.
Leveled up. I believe she's leveled up.
And after this slipstream, after this next turn draw, it might be enough for the level up. And Boxer can also one card off. That is so close, but it's so important that the Nila is not leveled yet, because that would just represent additional Nexus damage.
Probably just play the other Whirlwind here.
I sense such joy within you, but also pain.
Can I probably see Concussive Palm coming down here from Ultraman? We cannot afford any more slipstreams at all.
Yeah, and also can't afford the Nila to level up with something like an Eye of the Storm and then just go for a huge hit. This Howling Gale is going to be taking care of another defender, so is this Mystic Shot potentially. But Boxer is very low on fuel now. Same can be said for Ultraman though, they're both running out of resources.
Yeah, you can see Boxer considering just playing the Mystic to try and get this genre as close to leveling up as possible.
And also to make space for this Pool Shark. Like to just threaten a bit more Nexus damage. I kind of like the Mystic Shot. Not quite sure what the reasoning for keeping it is.
Probably just face damage, right? There's 9 HP left.
I mean, we would have turned the Mystic Shot into face damage here though, right? If we remove another unit, it allows us to swing.
One more, technically. You would have pushed 1 instead of 2, I believe, because if they wanted, Janna could be blocked by the 1/1, right?
Yeah, but the 1/1 I think blocks the Pool Shark. It's still 2 face damage. It's, I mean, I guess you can go either way. Not that it matters too much. Maybe Boxer wants to keep this Pool Shark on board in case of drawing it Tide Dancer. Is also a consideration. And that might have been another reason. Maybe Boxer just thought Ultraman had Seraphine in hand. Seraphine, we saw earlier on, is almost level. She's at 8 out of 9. And maybe Boxer just wanted to keep removal for this one threat that can completely swing this matchup back around.
Yeah, so this is an interesting also decision from Ultraman. If Boxer does commit both of these spells, Ultraman doesn't necessarily need to deny them. Will probably deny the Whirlwind for the damage, but could also, in theory, will their own Seraphine to get another random spell.
That is an interesting line of play, because Ultraman is so low on resources, it actually makes sense. Like, you don't really want to level Seraphine with the Encore. You want to play Encore after Seraphine is leveled to generate more spells. Deny or Will is going to be used to level Seraphine for sure. I do agree with the Deny because it also prevents our Nexus from taking Whirlwind damage. And we keep the Will as a defensive option, because the name of the game for Ultraman right now is just staying alive.
Yeah, the Encore probably going to be played this turn just to see what we get from Ultraman. And nothing usable.
Challenger? Does that? I mean, Challenger at least allows us to take out the 1/1. It's better than nothing. The Falling Star is entirely trolling us right here.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, you can remove a 1/1 here, and that's it.
So a bit of a low roll for Ultraman on the random card generation. Actually, arguably a lot of a low roll. And not having many cards left in hand doesn't... Janna flips, and the elusive keyword comes in super clutch here, because now there are 2 champions representing a significant amount of damage here, and only one can be taken care of with that Will of Ionia. Tide Dancer! Oh my goodness, what a top deck! And it's discounted to only 4.
Swift, strong, she cuts the tides like a dove.
Yes, but in theory, I think
Wow, because even if it would have gotten willed.
Your faith in me has
Boxer could have replayed the Tide Dancer because of the double updraft discount. Or no, one updraft discount, one Janna discount. Wow, that was convincing. That was actually very solid piloting by Boxer, keeping the resources, keeping the removal to threaten the Seraphine, which was the only way how Ultraman could have bounced back into this game. Finding just the right amount of draw, and then also finding the boat to close out the game. Pretty solid draw, but also pretty solid play by Boxer. And now Ultraman having to fend off this elusive aggression twice in a row.
Yes. However, this is a Teemo Yumi, so the possibilities of being able to do that are high. And as we've seen, there's a lot of AoE removal type options here. With the Seraphine list, the Janna list as well has tons of removal options. It's whether the Ultraman is able to get those early enough. Advanced Intel, huge as well, because you can set up flash bombs which cannot be interacted with and can potentially hit some of these sort of one elusives that are run on Boxer's side.
Advanced Intel is an interesting delayed removal. You'd prefer to have control over your removal, but it's still going to be effective here. Ultraman's mulligan was very interesting. We just managed to catch that. Kept Caustic Rift and Advanced Intel and High Note. So just as much removal as possible, as much wide removal as possible. And the last card that got added to hand was Sunken Temple. And
we see Acorn on 1.
With Eye of the Storm, one of the premier cards to get discounted.
Yeah, and most likely skip on 2 from Boxer. It's going to be very interesting to see what the options are. Because there's some high value options there. High Note, Deny, Caustic, pretty much all of them are going to be super happy to be hit.
Intel gets played super early, which is interesting because it could have been used like next turn to set up Flow for Caustic Rift a bit later down the pipe. But the bomb already does get drawn, does hit the wrong target. That was a pretty significant RNG moment. That Acorn did not get sniped out, and the skip just tanks it instead, bodyguards the Acorn, and does grow in power here.
Yeah, Boxer basically valuing no High Note available for Ultraman, right? Really, really recognizing at this point in this match, those 2 damage spells can completely potentially lose them the game. So just very much valuing delaying those High Notes till later on.
Another brick generated by Seraphine here. That discard card is not something that's going to be very useful unless you're finishing out the game. Ultraman is just trying to set up as much removal as possible to deal with this elusive pressure from Boxer.
Probably going to see another skip this turn and see what that hits. This will is going to be huge. It's going to send both the skip back in hand, going to give the High Note back to Ultraman yet again, and set up a fantastic turn here for Ultraman to delay sort of the match as much as possible.
Yes, Seraphine does hit for 1 chip damage. Ultraman was hoping to bait Boxer into a block here and then pop off with the Wuju style and the Meditate and just trade out an elusive unit for free. Boxer does not fall for the bait, plays the second skip, and can retake this High Note right away.
So no High Notes being played this match at all.
Let's
Not
see.
allowed.
And maybe if another Seraphine gets drawn, then it gets tough for Skip to interact with that. But the double skip hand could spell disaster for Ultraman because they can just take out so much removal from Ultraman's side, and you can't get rid of skips without removal. This one whiffs though. Deny and Sunken Temple don't matter that much in this position. Deny does get taken out so that Ultraman has less options to prevent the Nexus from being burnt down by cards like Blowback.
Yeah, this is a very interesting turn because obviously Boxer could develop Teemo, but then Caustic Rift gets a little bit of value at least. But it's still an overall very strong attack here from Boxer.
This board is starting to look intimidating. Man, Ultraman found so much removal in the early hand, but Boxer just found a way to completely pick that removal apart, right? Not really giving any opportunities to use the removal effectively, and to Skip being the annoying little elusive that he is, constantly taking those high notes out of hand.
Yeah, so mana-wise, it's a bit unfortunate, I think, for Ultraman. He can play Mystic Shot plus Caustic Rift, and get High Note back.
Rift does come out, at least takes care of 2 of those bodies, but they're both small elusives. Does set up further removal. Mystic Shot, you are right, can now take care of this skip. The other skip can now be threatened by Divine Draft if it will be found. Nonetheless, Boxer pushing in some significant damage, hitting for 5, and the 3rd Acorn discount coming in.
Unfortunately, hits the champion spell, I think, of the Yuumi, the second Yuumi, which isn't ideal. Really wants the draw to be even cheaper here.
It can still come in very clutch, though. Prodding Projectile can also represent 1 Nexus damage on an attack, maybe even more if it does take out a blocker. Seraphim swings in again. Ultraman trying to bait Boxer into the block here. Boxer thinking about accepting it because it forces Ultraman to invest a lot of cards here, right? And the Seraphim
only really Wuju, right? You don't have to play the meditate.
Well, if you want your Seraphim to stay alive, I do like this. My point is rather that Hideout will also have to be used to take care of the Acorn. And then you're still only killing the Acorn while the Yuumi bounces back into hand.
Get some extra draw here from the Eye of the Storm.
Liking this. Oh, it does snipe out the skip. Does get deny back into hand, which is not hugely impactful yet, but might come in clutch later down the line. Interesting standoff here.
Do you remove the Acorn this turn or next turn and wait for the +1?
This is tricky because you know your opponent runs Heroic Refrains.
Yeah.
Ultraman does elect to go for the activated High Note and take care of both elusive units. Gonna be sad to see that there's another Bandle Commando in the hands of Boxer. The question, there's actually a bit of a case to be made for just popping out Yuumi now, because Ultraman is almost out of units. But I do think the more straightforward play does make more sense. Develop the Bandle Commando while Ultraman probably doesn't have removal left, and immediately protect it with a Yuumi.
Does hit the time trick here, which will allow Ultraman to search for an answer. Let's see what they get. There is... Gotcha's not enough, unfortunately. Set is 1 turn too late.
It's such a tough decision.
And Pursuit is not ideal.
I think it has to be set, right? It's the only way to regain control of this game. You have to either play set or Sunken Temple this round. And, I guess Mixologist is also an idea, of course. As a...
Yeah, the extra healing. I wouldn't mind seeing some maybe committal here on the damage from Boxer. Maybe try to search through the deck a little bit more.
Eye of the Storm. Yeah.
With the draw. Yeah, the Eye of the Storm.
That's a pretty darn good pull, because Boxer was just about to run out of resources, and the Augmented Clockling is not only a well-statted elusive, but can also dig deeper into the deck.
Yeah, the Triumph also landed on it, so it's not just a 2-2, it is a 3-3 now as well, which when you're sitting at 8 HP as Ultraman, each point makes the hell of a difference.
Clutch draw coming in from Ultraman, though. This Unworthy Soul is going to be able to take care of the Bandle Commando later on the next swing. It's going to negate a ton of damage. Nonetheless, Boxer has the Augmented Clockling, will have a Heroic Refrain backup, as well as multiple land-based units that can swing in for an attack soon. Set is at 30 out of 40 mana. I don't think he can be leveled this turn and generate a showstopper, because if I'm not mistaken, the coin is just at 1 stack. So Ultraman is gonna have to survive another attack turn before he can fully stabilize.
Probably just gonna pass here if you're Ultraman. You could, in theory, attack.
Oh. Interesting. I mean...
Setting up flow?
Maybe setting up flow. Also, the Sunken Temple is of no use to you in this game unless you find a Rummage. Like the second Sunken Temple, you're never playing that. Off screen, we do see Jokerage against Enzo looks like a banger match as well, being tied up at 1-1. Gonna be pretty important to see who is gonna win the third one, but we are focusing on this intense game now.
Ooh, another Eye of the Storm. We'd like to draw 2 more. It costs 3.
I think that's the pick, isn't it? Does elect to go wide instead and just wants to set up lethal pressure on this turn already. That actually makes a lot of sense, because you can play almost your whole hand here. You have 9 Like, you have 8 mana available, your whole hand would cost 9 plus 2 from the Perilous Pastry, so you can delay that into the next turn. But you can play everything except for the Mystic Shot, for example, to just put out ridiculous pressure on the board.
Question is,
Man,
do you even care about attacking with the non-elusives, right? You're only really going to attack with the elusives.
yeah, you could try to bait your opponent. Like, you could force the set block, you could remove him with the Heroic Refrain Commitment plus Pythos. I don't think it's worth it. I think you want to direct all of your resources to Ultraman's Nexus here, and that seems to be what Boxer is setting up.
Yeah, this is looking very dangerous. However, as we can see, there is a... Oh, going full...
Okay, the same dilemma that we just mentioned. Is it worth it? Boxer agrees with us and says no. Just sets up as much Nexus pressure as possible. And do you commit both spells right away? I do think you have to.
You might have to, yeah. And then Heroic Refrain will end up going on the units that aren't
And the sad
targeted.
thing...
Ooh,
Okay, I think Ultraman
okay.
wants to keep the 9 mana, or does read the Heroic Refrain, expects Heroic Refrain or the third Eye of the Storm to come down, and that's why Ultraman is keeping the Concussive Palm.
Yeah, the scary part is obviously you have with Mystic Shot and Pythos enough.
Oh, it did pay off, because Boxer did not buff the Elusive Poro with the second part of Heroic Refrain. So the Concussive Palm prevents 5 damage instead of 3 it would have prevented otherwise. Good call by Ultraman here, reading the opponent nicely. Nonetheless, Boxer can still get 1 additional damage with Yumi's Prowling Projectile, what we mentioned earlier on. Send the Mystic Shot to the Nexus as long as Ultraman is under deny mana, and then set him to 1 HP, which will open up the door for the Perilous Pastry finish later on.
Yes, however, obviously we know that there's a deny opportunity available there for Ultraman, but you're never going to feel good about denying the second half of the Pythos.
Imagine
just to survive.
losing to a cake being thrown at you. That must be humiliating. Nonetheless, Boxer with the pressure provided here. So Boxer needs to find 1 more burn spell to pretty much secure the game. Ultraman is looking for healing. Ultraman is looking for removal. Whirlwind is removal, so still a bit of a fighting chance in this game.
It is. However, it can be potentially a little bit too slow. Really probably needs to get this temple down. Actually, these temples that have been sitting in Ultraman's hand, being a bit too slow to play, unfortunately, might be the only thing that saves him.
Yeah, I do think you might have to cycle through your deck here and find those, well, Seraphim into Ionian Tellstones kind of miracle lines to heal your Nexus back up. Boxer having a firm grip of this game so far. The Nexus HP tells the whole story, 19-1, and it's desperation time for Ultraman right now.
Yeah, I mean, Boxer doesn't have to go for the Pythos play at any point. It's not really forced to. Can wait a turn, can just sway in and say, Ultraman, do you have answers to all the elusives and the wide board?
It's tough for Ultraman. He kind of would like to play the Divine Whirlwind to get rid of 1 elusive attacker, but also kind of doesn't want to tap below deny mana. On the bottom right, we do see that Jokerich took out Enzo Lecoco, which means that we won't see the spicy decks, the spicy Heimer Nora anymore in the Grand Finals.
Will Sputtering save the day? That's
Will
what we've
Sputtering...
come...
Oh, okay.
Two
this
slow
is gonna...
spells, not useful.
Break.
Disintegrate could have been good, but there's nothing in hand. Guiding touch. That's the only really option. And then we have to see what Ultraman can draw.
And
Open
it's a
fire.
whiff.
Where's the doorman?
It's a whiff. Ultraman can block these hungry Owlcats, but cannot stop these elusive units from hitting the Nexus for 2. Ultraman is still technically alive at 1 HP, does have the Nopify for the Perilous Pastry. So holding onto a threat here. But it is so tight. This might be an absolutely mind-blowing miracle comeback though, because we see the Seraphins in hand and they should be leveled by now.
But they get reshuffled into the deck.
Oh, it's just 1 HP? One mana left, but the coin should be at 2 or 3 at this point. 2 it is. Seraphim can get played.
But Nopify needs to be held to deal with it.
Oh, good point. Good
They
point.
have to keep the Nopify.
Ultraman
man over.
literally. Yeah, I cannot afford to play the Seraphim. That really hurts. And Boxer does commit the Perilous Pastry, which will get met with a negation spell.
1 HP and a dream here for Ultraman. Can he find a way to survive the onslaught from Boxer? This is turning up to be an insane match. Boxer's out of direct damage right now, unless they're able to draw.
Mystic shot off the top, and there's no healing on Ultraman's side. There is no Nopify, there is no deny, and Boxer somehow manages to keep the grip of this game.
He's not committing. Boxer's not
I mean, I
committing
think-
yet. We obviously have caster vision, so we know.
I think he's
but-
gonna send it this round. I do think he's gonna develop the Bandit Commander on the Teemo first, hoping for Ultraman to tap under Nopify and deny. But we don't know this. We don't know if Boxer might be thinking, okay, I'll let Ultraman shuffle the hand first.
But shuffling the hand could provide
More
the deny on the
odds,
next
yeah.
turn, yeah.
I think he's going to go for it this round. Let's see if Boxer can pull the trigger here, quite literally, to close out the series.
The thing is,
for
Ultraman
next-
doesn't have enough for lethal. Yeah, we see the committal from
Locks
Boxer,
in.
locks it in, will seal their place in the grand finals for this World's Open qualifier.
What a banger of a series. Huge respect to both players for their piloting skills here. Wow. I'm a bit left for words because I'm so surprised that Boxer's super offbeat lineup is performing so incredibly well. This might just be the genius meta read, especially with a deck like Seraph and Back Alley Bar forcing a ban. Who would have expected to say that today?
I mean, it's one of those lists where you are just scared of it. If you're your opponent's side, so maybe a lot of it's been just the unknown factor, or the hidden factor of not knowing whether or not your lists are going to be good into it, just stealing bans that might not necessarily have been needed, and that just allowing Boxer to make it through. Who knows? But there's that element of uncertainty that's put onto the opposing player, which is just, I think, fantastic from the side of Boxer.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you, because I think a lot of players facing this deck are going to be like, okay, I don't know my matchup odds into that deck. And I'm kind of okay against the other two decks. I'm kind of familiar with playing against the other two decks. But this Seraphim Back Alley Bar deck is such a big question mark. And I hope we do get to see it in the grand finals, which will be coming up shortly. We do have another break for you because the other semifinals have already concluded. And that means we'll take a little break and see you soon for the grand finals of EMEA.